Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. This is Smart 24 TV and we drive your business. The show is Financial Markets, and to follow us, you can go to our Twitter handle, that's at Smart24 TV, and follow Smart24 TV now. And my personal handle is at Anthony Sebal. And of course, my co-host is Nampija Arivana. And of course, we are with Kayemba Isaac, who is the trading and research officer from the Uganda Securities Exchange. A very new face on the Uganda Securities Exchange, so definitely we are very, very proud to be able to have him with us here. We are looking at Uganda Securities Exchange performance so far in 2023. We've already gone one quarter and almost finishing the second quarter. But what is there for you as an investor? What is there as for you, a viewer of this show, Financial Markets? Gloria, tell us about what you have for Kayemba Isaac in as far as the performance is concerned for the first quarter of 2023 on the Uganda Securities Exchange.
All right, thank you. So Isaac, Bank of Baroda is one of the listings of Uganda Securities Exchange. Could you tell us about their bonuses?
So Bank of Uganda issued guidelines for banks, tier 1 banks. They had to increase their capitalization to at least 150 billion shillings. So previously, Bank of Baroda's share capital, paid up share capital, was 25 billion shillings.
Okay,
so,
but you can break down these things. You see our viewers here, when you say paid up share capital, some of them just switch off the TV. They don't want these hard jargons and so on. Now, what is paid up share capital, for example?
So when individuals are starting a company or different entities, there is money you put up front to start that company.
So, okay, I have a company, it's selling maybe pancakes, and I don't have money.
Yes.
So I invite people to bring money.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is paid up share capital.
Okay.
So that is a figure that you see on the company's balance sheet.
Oh.
Yes. So previously, Bank of Baroda's paid up share capital was 25 billion.
Does that mean Bank of Baroda was valued at 25 billion assets and all that, or this is just money that was used to start Bank of Baroda in Uganda?
So that is paid up share capital. Yes. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's money that was used to start the company.
Okay.
But that represents their share capital. Okay. Like you can look at it as how much skin do they have in the game. You understand? Or does the company have in the game?
Nice.
And in this context, the company is itself, its shareholders, its directors, and its managers. So they had to increase their paid up share capital to 150 billion shillings. One of the ways you can do that is doing rights issues. You raise money in that way, or you can do a bonus issue. Bonus issues do not require a company to raise money. Ideally, they are done to pay back shareholders in case a cash dividend is not possible. But in this case, you're trying to increase your paid up share capital. So what you do is, and what they did in this case is from retained earnings, that is moved on to paid up share capital. So that means per share, the shareholders' number of shares increases also. Yeah. So the share capital has a relation to the number of shares outstanding. So in that way, they had a bonus issue. With the bonus issue, you do not raise money at all. So there was no capital raising in that process. But the number of shares was increased for the company. And in that regard, the price also took an effect. Right now it's trading at 16 shillings per share. But previously it was at 14 shillings per share. That was on a close of trading on Monday, 5th June, when they had their bonus issue. So even the market capitalization of the company just had a slight change. So it has just actually recovered from 14 to 16. The market capitalization of the company changed. So bonus issues in usually have no effect on the company.
Mm.
You understand? So that is what happened.
What I don't understand, Mr. Kayemba, is how the company is getting more shares issued and they are free, right?
Yes.
How is it able now to get this paid up share capital raised from, let's say, 25 billion now to 150 billion? Yet you're issuing more shares, yes, but no money is being contributed, right?
Yes.
How is this happening?
So let me drive this back to genesis of companies. When you're starting a company, you make a choice. How are you going to capitalize your business? If you choose to use equity, you can say, I'm putting up 1 million up front, and with a registrar of companies, you say the par value of each share is 10,000 shillings. So that would mean you have 100 shares in your business. So your business has 100 shares at a par value of 10,000 shillings to give you your paid up share capital of 1 million shillings.
Yeah.
So in case you want to increase your paid up share capital, you can either do collect more money. There are avenues for collecting money, either public or private ways. So you collect that money and it becomes share capital. So you decide to issue more shares or not, or they might buy these existing ones, or you can issue more shares. So issuing shares is a business decision.
Yeah.
It's done by directors, management, and shareholders who decide to increase the number of shares, dilute or consolidate what we already have. So in this case, the number of shares is increased. Yeah. So it is just a decision that is made, and at the end of the day, you get your paid up share capital. So at a par value of 10 shillings per share, with 15 billion shares, you find that the paid up share capital,
that's 150 billion.
or it becomes 150 billion for the company. So the par value remains the same. Then you increase the number of shares outstanding. So if it doesn't really have a balance sheet effect, because at the end of the day, it's either a share premium that is transferred or retained earnings. So share premiums, if I can add that, share premiums is you bring in money into the business, but it's not necessarily paid up share
capital.
So these are all accounting terms that change what's really happening, but yes, the company's paid up share capital increased, and from a compliance and regulatory perspective, they are complying, but it doesn't necessarily change the value of the company and value to shareholders. Yes.
Well, Gloria.
Well, okay. Umeme is also part of other listings. Could you tell us what dividend they issued and how much was it?
Umeme is one of the companies that issued dividends, 63.9 per share. That's the gross dividend. There's been a lot of talk about Umeme, especially in regards to the concession agreement. The government of Uganda decided that it wasn't going to renew the concession after its natural close. So in February 2025, it's coming to a close, if I'm not mistaken about the dates. But in 2025, beginning of the year, the company's concession agreement is going to come to an end. So that was the agreement that the government of Uganda had with Umeme.
To serve for 20 years.
Yes, to serve for 20 years, distribute electricity in the country, but also invest into the national grid. So that's why there has been a lot of talk. And when a company is winding down, you start looking back at what value now do shareholders have. Not winding down per se, but if such significant events are going to happen, you start looking back at what value.
In other words, how is the cake going to be split? How much is the shareholder taking home?
So if you can look at it in that way, yes, it happens that way. So the company's debtors and also its shareholders. So what are they taking back home? So maybe people now are looking at it and saying, maybe this company has more value than we expected to be having, or what is going to go back to shareholders is a lot more than what is reflected on the exchange. So that's why you see the share price changing in that way. So it all comes down to what investors think is the worth of the company.
Yeah. So what drove Umeme's growth in price? Because when you look at the exponential growth in the price last year around this time, Umeme was at around 175, 190 shillings. And then today we are talking about 440 shillings. Meaning if someone invested in Umeme last year, let's say 100 million, they probably have twice that much, actually more than twice, because that the worth of their stock. What really influenced the movement, this exponential movement in price?
And so any changes in prices on an exchange comes from what investors think is the worth of that company. So with the concession agreement coming to its terminal end, investors are looking at what is going to actually be paid to the company in terms of the concession assets. At the close of 2022, they were looking at about 1.8 trillion shillings to be paid to...
That is from government of Uganda to Umeme.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a concession asset. But even when you go beyond the concession asset, the company has been posting returns, good returns, if you might say, and return to their shareholders, paying dividends on a consistent basis. In 2022, that was for the end of 2021, they paid a 54.1 final dividend to their shareholders.
Which was the highest, I think, as well, that year.
The yield.
The yield.
The yield, but not the figure. So that drives demand for those shares. And when demand increases, you expect that people now try to push what they are willing to sell their shares for. So you find the value of the stock actually increasing in that regard. So, and it's not just Umeme. We saw Stanbic also having an increase in its share price after they declared their dividend. That was 3.61 shillings per share. So those actions, corporate actions that happen onto the market is what pushes those prices to that extent. So investors expect returns to them, and then they increase what they are willing to offer to get that return.
Wow. Gloria, I don't know what you think, but probably investing in equities is one of those things that your money depends on what other people think. I don't know, how is it in cryptocurrency and forex trading? Is it the same? Do you feel like your money is controlled somehow by what people think?
Not necessarily. Yeah.
So you have control?
Yeah.
Well, things are different here. Looks like what sentiments the shareholders have do have more influence than a single opinion. But then also, let's talk about a couple of other stocks here. We have cross-listed stocks on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And when I look at the performance of these stocks, yes, their prices vary every now and then, but we don't see any trading happening on them. We don't see shares bought. For example, I think this year I haven't seen on a single day that any cross-listing has traded a single share. How is this possible? Why are they even listed on the exchange if they are not trading at all? Is this safe for a stock exchange?
So yes, there are available shares for trading in our depository for those cross-listed companies. So yes, you can buy shares, especially for example, East African Breweries Limited, KCB, and the like. You can buy shares in those companies, Centum. But I think it depends on the shareholders' preferences. They might want to do the trades in Kenya, and they bypass the exchange here and actually transact in Kenya. But it is available for doing so here in Uganda. In Uganda. So usually we see a bit of retail activity for those cross-listed entities, though it hasn't happened at all this year. But we expect some trades will come in. So it is available. You can do so. You can buy KCB shares. You go to your stockbroker. And I think mainly an effect also is the price. Because if you look at a company like Jubilee, the price is always around like 4,000, 3,000.
Comparing that to other stocks like Stanbic at 20.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that the company's value is more, but the value, the price of its share is a bit higher. So that is one of those influences, I think, in my opinion. But yes, it's available for trading. If anyone wants to buy KCB, East African Breweries, Equity Bank, you can go to your stockbroker, place your order, and you will buy shares in those companies.
How come there are movements in price despite inactivity on cross listings?
So we pick prices that are happening on the NSE, if I can say that. So the Nairobi Securities Exchange is where they are primarily listed.
Yeah, that's the first.
It's a cross listing.
Yeah,
and also the exchange rate has an effect on those prices. When the Kenya shilling loses against the Uganda shilling, you start seeing the stock price actually in a way drop. But also Kenya hasn't had a rosy experience, I think, for the past year.
Yes,
a number of stocks have been dropping in price.
Yeah, I've seen Safaricom drop from the sky.
And most of it is attributed to foreign outflows. So the foreigners are moving their capital, some of their capital out of the market. So when you find that other countries are giving a better return, you decide to move your capital. So that has been one of the things that has led to significant drops in those prices. But there's actually been a good performance on a relative scale, especially for the banking stocks that are listed. There has been good performance.
KCB.
Yes, KCB, Equity,
a
number of corporate actions. Those two are doing quite a number of acquisitions within the region. So there's significant growth within those businesses in the region. They have declared dividends. A number of those have declared dividends. East African Breweries. East African Breweries also had an acquisition, a share buyback, not acquisition, but a share buyback around the beginning of the year. So a number of corporate actions, but those what the investors want to do on the exchange has a significant impact on the price. So that's why you see them dropping, and in effect, they affect our indexes.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. My final question would be, what would be your words to the investor out there for this financial? You've seen several stocks. You've, of course, because you're representing the exchange, you might not side with any single stock, but at least what would be your advice for someone who is now starting their investment in the next financial year? You know, our financial year is ending in the month of June. We are beginning another financial year. People would want to switch up things a little bit in their portfolios. They want to know what new stocks should I look out for? How can I diversify my risk? What advice would you have for them?
So first of all, whatever is listed on an exchange, especially the Uganda Securities Exchange, it's regulated, it's scrutinized, there's investor protection there. So you have a bit of security for your assets. So from that point of view is when now you try to decide where do I invest. So when you're investing, the most important thing and what you should look at is understanding where you're investing. Like you have to have enough knowledge.
A 360
Yes.
degrees.
If you invested 1 million shillings in MTN today, you should be knowing why you invested that money there and what you expect out of it. If you invested 100 million shillings in a Stanbic, you should be able to explain why you invested that much in that. So that gives you an extra edge to know that yes, I have put my money there, but my money is protected to a certain extent, and I know what my money is doing for me. So equity is a good platform. They provide significant diversification. You go beyond the normal fixed income securities, the funds, because there are quite a number of funds that are in the country. There's been significant growth in that industry. People are investing with unit trusts. But you look at equities also as an avenue. So after looking at them in that way is when you know that now this is what is on the Uganda Securities Exchange. This is how I can buy those shares, and this is why I'm buying them. So as much research as possible should be put into those investment decisions. So investors should go to resources that are available. The Uganda Securities Exchange website has a lot of information, both legacy and new information. Company financials are posted there, corporate actions, announcements, everything is there, what you need to make a decision. So, and daily prices change. You can see the market performance on the website. Then there is the Uganda Securities Exchange Easy Portal. So it's also an avenue for investors to know what do they have, what are their holdings, what is going on the market. So we have endeavored as much as possible to make the market as public as possible for
accessible,
the people, and make sure there's an edge, there's protection for them. For them to understand that my assets are protected.
Wow. Gloria, what do you think the Uganda Securities Exchange should do in as far as, of course, reaching out? Because as he has mentioned, one of the things you need to know before you even invest in any of these equities is you must have a 360 degrees look. So what would be your advice for especially young people out there who don't know what to do with their money? They are just making money, they are starting out, they're entrepreneurs, but they're still keeping money under the bed, they're still keeping money in Ponzi schemes and sometimes losing it. What advice would you give them, and also to the exchange, in as far as reaching out to such people is concerned?
Well, personally, as part of the youth, I will look out for more knowledge about this, reach out to people who know about what exchange really is, and invest earlier. Yeah, personally, that's what I would do.
Wow, thank you so much. There you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Mr. Kayemba, for sparing time to come and, of course, educate the public. We definitely do appreciate that. We hope to see you again. It's a new year financially, right? So we hope things are going to be better. We've just witnessed the reading of the national budget. We've seen, I don't know, the central bank rate has been maintained at 10%. Despite the fact that inflation has gone down. I don't know what that implies, but definitely that could be a talk for another day as we talk about especially the fixed income securities. My name is Anthony Sebale. I've been your host together with
Gloria Nampija.
And of course from the team, have a very wonderful weekend. Bye for now. See you next Monday.
Smart 24.